You are listening to Practical and Woo by Mindset and Manifest. My name is Eden, and I invite you to embark on a journey with me to explore the practical and spiritual edges of the unknown for the purpose of allowing you to embody and empower yourself uniquely as you are and to intentionally create and live a life of freedom and fulfillment. Each week, I am going to discuss topics such as energetics, reality creation, manifestation, astrology, tarot, and more to help empower you to live beyond perceived limitations and to practically design your life so it feels like absolute magic every step of the way. Let's dive in. Well, hello, brilliant soul. The Wheel of Fortune is a concept that has both fascinated and frightened people for centuries. A wheel that keeps on turning, indifferent to whether we're clinging desperately to its spokes or riding its rotation with a spirit of grace. We can hear nods to this imagery in colloquial language as well, believing in notions like what goes around comes around. It's found in the ominous whisper we attach to concepts like karma, or the heavy sigh that accompanies words like fate, not to mention the ancient Greek and Roman idea of three crones presiding over the decision of who gets to stay and who gets to go. There's an inkling that life is already written and that we're powerless passengers in the game of life. But here's what I want for us to unlock today. What if fate and karma aren't punishments we should fear, but instead invitations to participate wholly in life? What if the Wheel of Fortune isn't about being at the mercy of life's ups and downs, but about realizing that our imagination is the axle that keeps the whole thing rolling in the first place? Our imagination is the fertile ground, always in motion, and you might even say always in rotation. And when we learn to master the cause of our experience, we can purposefully and intentionally gain mastery over the effect. This is when we can curate our lives so the feedback stops feeling like punishment and starts feeling like communication. This is the direction that I want to steer us in today, into a conversation about taking the fear out of things and taking it specifically out of fate and karma by reframing the Wheel of Fortune and learning how to tap into the mastery of imagination so that feedback becomes your greatest ally in creating your life so that it feels blissful, fulfilling, and like absolute magic. Throughout history, the Wheel of Fortune has been a powerful image used to describe the rise and fall of human life. Ancient philosophers and poets spoke of this turning mechanism of destiny that's always in motion and never still. In Roman mythology, the goddess Fortuna was said to spin her great wheel at random, lifting some into prosperity and plunging others into despair. And Roman senator Boethius, in his Consolation of Philosophy, written in the 6th century, describes fortune as fickle, reminding us that nothing in the external world is guaranteed and that true stability can only be found within. Even Shakespeare borrows this imagery, with characters speaking of fortune's wheel as a force that makes beggars into kings and kings into beggars. On the surface, this wheel can look intimidating, a vast celestial mechanism carrying people upward into glory one moment and then promptly hurling them into a hardship in the next. It's the archetype of ups and downs, of sudden reversals, of life's tides that no human being escapes. It's the mechanism behind the fear that the other shoe might drop or is going to drop. I have been thinking about this concept a lot lately, and I'm beginning to see glimpses into the possibility that it isn't the wheel itself that determines our experience, but where we choose to stand and what we choose to perceive in relation to it. Imagine clinging to the outer rim of a giant Ferris wheel, every turn whipping you in the air and then plunging you down again. The ride would feel unstable, dizzying, and beyond your control. And this is how most of us meet life, at the mercy of fate, karma, other people's choices, and circumstances that are outside of our control. Now imagine instead standing at the very center of the wheel, right on the axle. And from this vantage point, you can observe the movement without being thrown by it. You can marvel at the cycles, even appreciate their beauty without losing your ground. This is synonymous to being in the eye of the tornado, in a present stillness, yet an expanded perspective. Because I'm coming to realize that the wheel of fortune and karma aren't intended to be about doom, fear, and inevitable pitfalls. They are about receiving feedback. It's about being reminded of what you're casting into your life's projection field through imagination and belief. And the trick here is to witness where you're doing this consciously as well as where you're doing this unconsciously. Our common cultural narrative is that karma is akin to payback. So if you do something bad, then something bad will happen to you. If you do something good, then you'll get a reward. But this tends to be a surface understanding of the principle, turning it into a moral courtroom rather than an evolving experience. The original Sanskrit word karma actually translates to action, a situation in which things happen to someone as a result of their previous actions. The same concept we explore here on this podcast. It's an axiom for your life being a mirrored, outpictured experience of your inner realm. Karma is the reflection. It's not personal. It does not hold a vendetta to punish. It's not keeping any kind of receipt. It's simply feedback. The feedback of what you are casting into your life from your thoughts, beliefs, feelings, and your imagination. I know we've explored this analogy before, and it feels important to explore again. I want to invite you to think of your own experience looking at yourself in a mirror. If you smile into it, the mirror will smile back. If you frown, the mirror and the image in the mirror frowns back. Does this mean that the mirror is punishing you for frowning? No, it's simply reflecting what's already there. So the grander invitation here is to realize that karma and things like the Wheel of Fortune are not something to fear, but to listen to see as a teacher, to notice the correlation of the person you are imagining that you are, because who you imagine you are directly relates to the experiences that you'll have. The fear is able to dissolve when you allow yourself to realize that you can always make a choice that pivots the experience of your life in a completely new direction. And this will always be available at any point, and you cannot miss the opportunity to make a new choice, ever. So, let's now talk about fate. The word fate often conjures an image of a path carved in stone, something that is predetermined and inescapable. The Greek fates spinning the thread of your life, snipping it when they choose. But what if fate is also simply just feedback on the level of identity? Where karma is feedback from your actions and your thoughts, fate can be seen as feedback from who you are showing up as, who you are being. It's the larger story you identify with, the version of yourself that you've chosen to embody in any given moment, chapter, or period of your life. For example, if you see yourself as unlucky, life will faithfully deliver circumstances that confirm your fated unluckiness. If you identify as powerful and blessed, life will echo that back as well. It was great American mystic Neville Goddard who often taught that imagination is what creates reality. And with this, we can come to see that the Wheel of Fortune isn't turning outside of us, but within. Every thought, every image, every daydream is a turn of that wheel. Most of us let the wheel spin unconsciously. We replay the same fears, the same grievances, the same self-doubts, and then we feel surprised when life delivers us the same outcomes again and again. And when we learn to direct the wheel, to consciously choose the imaginal scenes that we rehearse within ourselves, this is when we step into mastery of conscious and intentional creation. We stop being flung around by the essence of fate and karma and start co-creating right along with them as partners and collaborators. The infinite nature of the Wheel of Fortune reflects the quantum scientific knowing that there are infinite potentialities. This means there is no limit to what you can imagine, no limit to the new causes you can conceive, and no limit to the new identities you can try on. So, what are some practical ways you can start implementing this? The first step is to really become an observer of yourself and your life, to just deeply notice your life as it is, because every circumstance, every relationship dynamic, and every experience that you're noticing is feedback. Instead of wondering why something is happening to you, you can ask yourself what your experience, circumstance, or dynamic is reflecting to you. And you can ask yourself, who am I believing that I am? What have I been thinking about lately? What have I been assuming to be true? Choose deliberately what you want to imagine. Instead of replaying your fears, rehearse your desired conclusion. See yourself already living in the reality that you want. Feel it, claim it. Let your imagination roll that wheel in the direction of your chosen outcome. Your power is remaining at its center, in the now. Don't cling to the outer rim of circumstances. Stay grounded in your chosen identity and let the cycles move around you without pulling you back into the chaos. One of the greatest benefits of this is that when you allow yourself to see your life as feedback rather than punishment, fear dissolves more and more easily because every quote unquote negative experience is simply just a signal pointing you back to an inner cause. So with this, I want you to commit to yourself to knowing and remembering that you are never stuck, that you can always imagine again, and you can always create anew. So let's say you're finding yourself repeating the same painful dynamic in your romantic relationships. Maybe you're feeling unappreciated, unseen, or left behind for the umpteenth time. Allow yourself to see this as feedback. Ask yourself, what have I been imagining about love? What do I imagine or assume to be true about romantic relationships? What identity am I taking on in this subject area of my life? From here, you can begin to imagine what your life would look like if you were showing up as the version of you who is adored, chosen, and respected. This same principle works on every single subject area of life, from money goals all the way to self-confidence. If it's safe and comfortable for you to do so, I want to invite you to close your eyes for a moment. In your mind's eye, picture a great golden wheel before you. It's vast, luminous, turning slowly. At its center, there is a still point. Witness yourself step into the center now. Notice what you feel as you hold your power here, grounded, steady, and calm. Around the rim of the wheel, you can see the images of your life, circumstances, people, events. They're moving, shifting, cycling, but you remain at the center. Now place a new image onto your wheel. See yourself living your desired reality with all of the accoutrements and accents that you're wanting to experience, maybe in love or wealth or prosperity or freedom. Place your desired reality as a new plugged-in icon onto this wheel and watch as it carries it around and around, gathering momentum, preparing to deliver it back to you. Feel the joy of knowing that the wheel always reflects what you place upon it. Affirm to yourself, I am at the center. I am the cause, and life is the beautiful effect of the vision that I hold within. Take a breath, and when you're ready, come back to the present moment. And so, I want you to contemplate this very idea that every moment is a revolution of the wheel. Every thought is a seed. Every identity is a broadcast. Fate is feedback. Karma is feedback. And imagination is the infinite wheel turning it all into form. Strip the fear out of fate. Take the heaviness out of karma and step boldly into your mastery. Because when you master the cause, you inevitably master the effect. And isn't that the most beautiful fortune of all? Until next time.